If you're like the majority of people, there are unconscious fears that are sabotaging and getting in the way of your relationships. And that's whether you're in a relationship right now and it's affecting your communication, or if you're looking for a relationship, you will have fears that can block you from seeing opportunities that are there. Unless you address these unconscious fears, you'll have a tendency to keep running the same patterns again and again and again until you resolve them. My name's Andy Campbell from Andy Campbell Coaching, and my course, The 5 Unconscious Fears Sabotaging Your Relationships, will give you the understanding as to what exactly these fears are, and also it'll give you the tools to be able to take the fears that you have in your life and step by step take you through a process of how to dissolve them for yourself. My name's Andy Campbell from Andy Campbell Coaching, and my online course, The 5 Unconscious Fears That Sabotage Your Relationships, is a video series that I put together of the 5 most common fears that are getting in the way that you don't even know are there most of the time. The video series goes through in detail and outlines exactly what's going on so it can bring it into your awareness and give you the tools that you need to be able to go out and dissolve them. I was working with a young lady who had a lot of baggage around getting into relationships. She found herself in a lot of different relationships with kind of unfulfilling situations that she was in. She got into relationships with guys, she wasn't really fulfilled in those relationships, and she was kind of half in it because she had the fear of, well, if I don't go for this relationship, then I'm going to miss out kind of thing. So her situation, she was stuck between, do I stay in this kind of unfulfilling relationship that my heart isn't really in? Or do I go out and have the fear of being alone and never finding someone because I haven't really found anyone better than this situation that I'm in? So I got to work with this girl, and what we did was we went back into her past and we looked at the relationship baggage that was sitting there. She had a series of different relationships with different guys, and there was different pain associated in those moments. And so we called it relationship baggage, but essentially they're moments from her past that are relationships that she wouldn't want to go through that again. And what that does is, as you go out into your life, those fears are sitting there in your unconscious mind. They're blocking you from seeing opportunities, and they're blocking you from entering into the relationship you love to be in. So with this girl, I worked with her one-to-one. Within a few short weeks, we dissolved all the fears. It's not hard to do. 2 weeks later, she went out, she met a guy that she had a really strong connection with. Earlier this year, I was at their wedding, and they were married, and she was so thankful that she met this guy, because the relationship with this guy, she had so much connection and so much fulfillment with, relative to these other relationships that she didn't want to be in. And so she went from a situation where, well, do I have a fear of never meeting a guy, or do I stick with this unfulfilling thing? We dissolved the fear, and now she's in a situation, she's married, and she's loving the relationship, and she's having the time of her life. So that's just one individual I've worked with. But this information, I want to share it with as many people as possible, because it can change your life if you understand it. It's very simple. You understand what's going on, why you're creating the reality that you're creating right now, but it gives you the tools to be able to go and do something about it. I had the opportunity to work with a girl who was in this situation where she was in a relationship, but she was just very unfulfilled in this relationship. And in her mind, she only saw two options. One was, I leave this relationship because my heart's not in it. But if she left the relationship, she didn't have another person in her life. And so she had a fear of, well, I'm either going to be alone forever, I'm going to be in this unfulfilling relationship. I worked with this girl, we identified events that happened to her in her past that were stored there subconsciously. And these events she had fears associated with. And they were blocking her from meeting new opportunities and new relationship partners in the future. Because anytime there's something that's happened to you previously that you don't want to go through again, that gets stored there in your subconscious mind. And every time you go out into the world, you're not going to see different opportunities because there's pain associated with being in certain relationships. So what she found happening is she didn't see any of these opportunities. She had a fear around relationships in different contexts. And so she wasn't meeting guys. And she was saying, well, why can't I meet him? There's no guys around. I worked with her one-to-one, and we went and we identified specifically the fears that are sitting there and the things that she wouldn't want to go through again. We dissolved each of the fears, and within 2 weeks, she went out. Once the fears were dissolved, she then met a guy. She had a great connection with the guy, got into a meaningful relationship. We met up for a coffee, and she wanted me to meet the guy, which was really cool. And then this was about a year and a half ago. Earlier this year, I went to their wedding, and she's married the guy, and she has a beautiful relationship with this guy. So here's this girl who's in a situation in her head, and she thinks, well, either I'm going to be alone forever, I'm going to sit in this unfulfilling relationship I don't really like. Just from taking her through a few short exercises, she dissolves those fears. Now she can go out and she can meet the guy and have the relationship that she's always wanted to have. So I want to take this information, I want to share it with as many people as possible, because if you're watching this video, you probably have a few things associated with relationships that maybe you don't want to go through again, or you had a negative experience. That can block you from going and finding what you'd really love to have in the area of relationships in your life. So what I've done is I've put together a 5-part video series. It's called the subconscious fears that stop you from that sabotage your relationships or stop you from finding a relationship partner. These fears will get in the way of your communication, and also they'll get in the way of you meeting people because they're going to block your interaction. This video series is designed to walk you through the most common fears so you can look, okay, do I have these in my life? And also it gives you the tools you need to understand, okay, what can I now go and do about it? How can I dissolve these fears? Because it's a little bit complex initially to work out, I've got a fear here. Once you identify what the fear is, it's very simple to dissolve it. Once you dissolve it, now you're free to go out in the world and you can have the relationship you'd always dreamed of having. So if you're in a situation right now and you're in an unfulfilling relationship, you want something more out of life and out of your relationships, download the 5-part video series. It's the 5 subconscious fears that are blocking your relationships. So if you are seeing patterns in your life, unfulfilling patterns around relationships, you will continue to create those unfulfilling patterns until you go back and you dissolve those fears that are sitting there subconsciously that are dictating the interactions that you have. Subconscious fears will control your behavior before you're even aware of them because they're subconscious. Once you identify them, you go in, you dissolve them, now the world opens up to you again and you can have the relationship that you would love to have.